Hello, my name is Brian Hegney, Instructor of Communication at High Point University here in High Point, North Carolina. Sorry, students, there's nothing funny to do because I've got to go soon and I want to get this uploaded for you guys. So, the last thing I wanted to point out is bringing those textures or that texture we created into your project. And here's how we do it. Number one, I'm going to go to my content browser. And right now I don't have anything called materials. I'm going to create a materials folder. Materials, and I'm going to go into that. Okay. And I'm also going to create a textures folder. So add new folder, textures. Because what we created was a texture. We did not create a material. So in the 3D world, there are textures which are 2D images. And then there's materials, or shaders as some people call them in other software. And the shaders really add much more depth and complexity to a texture. So the texture we created was in Photoshop. It's a 2D texture. So I'm going to go to my textures folder and import, and I'm going to go to that last PNG we created. Mine was called Carpet 03D, cropped 02 PNG. If I was much better, I would actually name that something that made more sense, like text carpet PNG, and I didn't, and I apologize, but there it is. Now, if we were to double-click that, it would open up our window and we'd see it. Hey, that's great. That's what our texture looks like. And we are not going to touch any of this, really. We are just going to let it sit the way it is. The easy way of creating a material is we are going to right-click our texture and look at the top. It says Create Material. And I'm going to click that. And I will probably call it Matte Carpet for material carpet. Now, it looks nice when it creates it. Look at that sphere. Let's do this here. Oh, that looks nice. If we look at it as a cube, we can kind of see how it looks as a cube. Okay, that's decent. But the problem is going to be when we drag this. Actually, I need to drag this material to the materials folder. And when you do that, Unreal always gives you the option to copy it there or move it. We're obviously going to move it there. I don't want this material hanging out in my texture folder, so I'm going to move it. And now I'm going to go to my materials, and there's my material. Watch what happens when I drag this material onto this floor, which this is from my previous version. Oops, I shouldn't have shown that. Okay, that's what it really looks like, and if you zoom out, you can see what's going on here. Oops. Let's zoom out here. There we go. And so it's actually applying that texture to a cube. It already has texture coordinates. So if we were using if you're using something like a cube, you have to actually go into the... Hold on. Let me show you. I'm going to create a volume, a geometry, and I'm going to drag a box. This is what they used to call a BSP brush box for, I always forget the term, a binary space partition box. I'm going to drag that into my scene. Now, because I had my material already set, it applied it there, and that actually doesn't look too bad. You can see where where it is repeating, right? It actually looks a little bad, but it's not terrible considering we didn't do anything too fancy. It has no physics, so it's not going to move. But why does it look so normal there, and why is it all stretched out here? Well, it's because this box that we applied it to...
We didn't apply it.
We didn't. You did. So it has texture coordinates already on it, and so because the material applies it in a specific way to a ready-made static mesh, the beauty of using these BSP brushes, or the geometry boxes, is that we can tell it in the details if we want it to be scaled at all. Like right now it scales it to the size of the polygon, but if I want to say, you know what, I'm gonna double that in the U and double that in the V space and hit apply, I'm going to make that much larger, twice as much. Or if I want to say, you know what, I'm going to make it repeat more, so I'm going to say it is 0.25 the size in U and V, and apply it. It's going to double that, the number of times that it's, oops, where is it? It's over here. The number of times that it's repeated. So we can do that in the editor for the geometry boxes and cones and whatnot. That's really cool. It's really helpful. I think that 1 by 1 is perfect for this size. So I'm going to set the UV scale back to 1, and now it's back to normal. But for here, we don't have that option because it's a ready-made box with UV coordinates already set. So here we're going to go into the material itself, and we're going to look at what's going on in the material. It's just a simple 2D texture, which you guys, this will be fine for your prototypes. Unless you want to prototype materials and then which you're going to go nuts with materials, I can accept that. But if you're prototyping a level and you're kind of playing with materials and figuring out, you know, the mood and the theme and whatnot, this is going to be good enough. But what I want to do is to be able to, if I need to, change the texture coordinates. So I'm going to drag a node off of the UVs and type in text coordinate, and there it is, texture coordinate, and hit enter. And all this does is this is a nice way to change, whoops, I'm not showing you the whole thing. It's a nice way to change how those UVs are scaled for an object that has an unwrapped component to it already. So I'm going to type in, now this one you have to do the opposite, so if I want it to be smaller on the object, I'm actually going to need to type something bigger like 100 times. So that's going to scale this 100 times in the U direction and 100 times in the V direction. And now it looks terrible in this sphere. I'm going to save it anyway. But because our floor is so large, there we go. There we go. It actually doesn't look terrible yet. I'm actually going to play this now and see what it looks like. Okay, and that's the texture that we just made in Photoshop. Repeating. Again, I can see those lines, but, you know, maybe we can pretend that this is made out of carpet tiles and we'd see those lines anyway. I don't know. If I were to spend, you know, 20 more minutes on this, I could probably make that Photoshop document to be a much better repeating pattern. But this is fine for right now. That covers bringing materials or textures into Unreal Engine, creating materials out of them, and I think that will help all of your prototypes immensely. Okay, so everyone, bye. Maeve, do you want to say goodbye?
Bye.
Bye, that's all.